Welcome to Dr. Mary Travel Best's 5 Steps to Solo Travel Guide for people like you who need extra support traveling one at a time. Please share this podcast. I appreciate your feedback and travel questions as I write a workbook and a third book in the series, 5 Steps to Solo Travel. This one will be about my 90 days around the world. In this episode today, the FAQ is, how do I navigate the city bus system when I don't speak the language? Today's destination is Akureyri and northern Iceland. Today's misstep? My hostel was self-service and someone was in my bed. And now the travel advice? Be on time if you're on a tour. And now the FAQ. How do I navigate the city bus system when I don't speak the language? And here's the response. I traveled around the world for 90 days, and most of the time, I did not speak the language of that country. I had some challenges when riding the bus in some cities. For example, Reykjavik, Iceland, was a small disaster. You can use travel apps like Rome to Rio for bus or train travel guidance. You can get to the station early so that you can ask other people about the timing of the bus. In Goa, India, I waited and waited at an unmarked bus station, but it never came. I took a chance with a motorcycle taxi. Later that day, I waited at another bus station and was unsure whether the bus would go left or right. No one spoke my language. I finally got on my first of 4 buses to my destination. In hindsight, a taxi would have been a better option had one been available. Most of the time, you will get on the right bus and you will be able to get to your destination. If you're in a hurry, even better. Enjoy the experience and travel light. And now, today's destination, Akureyri and northern Iceland. On my around-the-world trip, I had planned to drive the ring road to Iceland for 7 days, the final destination on a 90-day adventure. After many months of planning and reserving a car rental, I canceled with about 2 weeks' notice and decided to fly to the northern part of Iceland for a 4-day trip instead. I bought a round-trip ticket to Akureyri, and the airport to get there was tiny, so small that there was no security screening for passengers. There were about 40 people on the plane. Once I landed, I found out there was no bus service to town, as it was not profitable. So I hitched a ride to the cruise ship terminal with some airline pilots from Denmark who were with Viking Cruises and whom I met on the plane. The terminal for boats was much busier than the one for planes. 5 colossal cruise ships, megaships, were docked in town. I met a cruise ship passenger. Her name was Kelly. She's from Long Beach, California, and she was sitting on a bench. She was retired, single, and had no kids. She broke her ankle, and walking the stairs was a challenge for her now. But she was so sweet to talk to. Back to Akureyri. The town has only 20,000 residents, so when the cruise ships left town, the city became peaceful and relaxed. Now, what did I do during those days? It was a great adventure, as I had booked a hostel near a bus stop and Netto grocery store. I took a day trip to Lake Mývatn, the 4th largest lake in the country. We saw Godafoss, the waterfall of the gods. I explored some caves and volcanic areas from afar. And while there, I witnessed a long-distance run of 100 kilometers. That run starts at midnight, and I could watch the runners up close and even be at the finish line for several of them crossing. How exciting! I also enjoyed the public pools with the locals every day I could. I felt like a local and explored the hikes and neighborhoods on the city bus. I visited several churches and botanical gardens and soaked in the local flavors by walking for miles daily. And now, today's misstep. My hostel in Iceland, Akureyri, it was self-service, and someone was in my bed. In other words, there were no administrative people there at all. So when I arrived, someone was sleeping in my bed, and it was disturbing because there was nobody to ask for help. The person was sound asleep and sick, and they would not move to another bed, so I had 5 other roommates, but I didn't want to take one of their bunks. So I went swimming in a nearby hot tub and pool and relaxed. That night, I sorted it all out. The other roommates were from Germany and China and were kind and friendly, and that made it all worth it. And now for today's travel advice. If you're on a tour, be on time. If you miss your guided bus tour, you may need to hitchhike, so don't be late. The driver may need to pick up passengers at another stop or drop off others along the way. You can't keep them waiting, so be sure to sync your alarm to return to the tour when you need to. I want to bring meaning to your travels, so send a question or travel tip. Sign up for the newsletter. Let's connect on my website, Facebook page, our Facebook group, or Instagram. You can subscribe and find me on all the social channels, and also find the 5 Steps to Solo Travel series on Amazon. The show notes have more details for you to connect, and please support this podcast with a review.
What's on your travel bucket list? Tell the doctor and her team of women who travel the world seeking the very best. Dr. Travel Best, that is.